Texas is facing a housing emergency that many people still do not fully understand. Across the state, more older adults are being pushed closer to the edge, and some are already falling into homelessness. How can people who worked for decades suddenly be unable to afford a place to live? That question is at the heart of this crisis, and the answer is far more disturbing than most people think. This is not just about high rent. It is about a system where fixed incomes stay small while housing costs keep rising. It is about seniors choosing between food, medicine, utilities, and rent. It is about people who played by the rules their whole lives now living with fear, pressure, and growing uncertainty. And in Texas, that pressure is building faster than many families can handle. In this video, we will break down 10 powerful reasons why Texas's homeless crisis is exploding and why seniors are being hit the hardest. What is really driving this? And how bad could this get next? Stay with us. Number 1. Housing costs rose faster than many fixed incomes. The first reason this crisis is getting worse is simple but devastating. Housing costs rose faster than many fixed income. For many seniors in Texas, income does not rise with the real world. Their monthly money often comes from Social Security, small pensions, or saving. That means they have a set amount coming in no matter what happens outside. But rent did not stay still. Property taxes did not stay still. Insurance did not stay still. Utility bills did not stay still. Year after year, the cost of keeping a roof over your head moved up, while many older people were forced to survive on income that changed very little. That is where the squeeze begins. And once that squeeze starts, it becomes harder and harder to escape. First, the damage is easy to miss. A senior may cut back on eating out, then on driving, then on heating or cooling the home. After that, the choices get darker. They may skip doctor visits, delay medicine, or stop fixing things around the house. Some move into smaller places, but even smaller places are no longer truly affordable. Others stay where they are and fall behind month by month. One rent increase can destroy a careful budget. One tax bill can create panic. One insurance jump can trigger a crisis. What makes this worse is that many seniors cannot simply work extra hours or start over in a new career. Their money is fixed, but the market is not. That gap keeps widening, and every month it becomes more dangerous. This is why the housing crisis is not only about homelessness on the street. It begins long before that. It begins with fear, with unpaid bills, with silent sacrifice, and with older Texans lying awake at night wondering what will happen next. When housing costs rise faster than fixed incomes, stability turns into pressure, and pressure turns into displacement. That is the hidden machine behind this crisis. Seniors are not failing the system. The system is becoming too expensive for them to survive inside it. Number 2, Texas has a massive shortage of deeply affordable homes. The second reason this crisis keeps growing is that Texas does not have enough deeply affordable housing for the people who need it most. This is not just a matter of expensive luxury apartments or trendy neighborhoods. The real danger is deeper than that. There are simply not enough safe, stable, low-cost homes for seniors living on limited monthly income. That means older Texans are often competing for a very small number of affordable places, while demand keeps rising. And when too many people chase too few homes, prices climb, waiting lists get longer, and the weakest renters are pushed out first. This is where the system begins to break. A senior may do everything right, apply early, stay on a list, and still never get a real chance. The shortage itself creates pressure before a person even misses a payment. This lack of affordable homes creates a chain reaction that spreads across the whole housing market. When low-income seniors cannot find a place they can afford, they are pushed into units that already cost too much. Then they spend more of their income on rent and less on everything else. Some move in with family, even when the space is too small or unstable. Others take rooms in unsafe buildings, old motels, or properties with serious repair problems because they have no better option. When the supply is too small, bad choices start looking like the only choices. And once a senior enters housing that is fragile, temporary, or unsafe, one problem can knock everything down. A landlord may raise the rent, a building may be sold, a family arrangement may collapse. Suddenly, that senior is one step from homelessness. What makes this even more dangerous is that affordable housing shortages do not fix themselves quickly. These homes take years to plan, fund, build, and protect. But the crisis is happening now. Seniors need help now. A market with too few affordable homes becomes a trap for older people on fixed incomes. It leaves them exposed to rising prices, unstable living situations, and constant fear. This is why homelessness is not only about poverty. It is also about the deadly shortage of places poor seniors can actually afford to live in. Number 3. 3. Homelessness is rising, and Texas is feeling the pressure. The third reason this crisis is getting worse is that homelessness is not staying flat. It is rising, and Texas is now feeling that pressure more openly. What once looked like a problem affecting only a small group of people is now spreading into wider parts of society. More working adults are struggling, more families are under stress, and more seniors are finding themselves closer to the edge than they ever imagined. This is what makes the crisis so alarming. It is no longer a distant issue happening somewhere else. It is growing in cities, suburbs, and communities across the state. When homelessness rises overall, older Texans become even more vulnerable because they are entering a system that is already overcrowded, overstrained, and harder to survive in. As the numbers rise, every part of the system comes under pressure. Shelters fill up faster. Waiting lists for housing support grow longer. Outreach teams face more cases than they can handle. Affordable units disappear quickly. Emergency programs become harder to access. In that kind of environment, seniors often fall behind younger groups because they may need more medical support, more safety, more time, and more stability. The crisis becomes harsher when the system is already full. A younger person might survive in a temporary shelter, sleep in a car, or move between friends for a short time. But for an older adult with health issues, mobility problems, or limited family support, that same situation can turn dangerous very fast. What is hard for others can become life-threatening for seniors. This is why rising homelessness matters so much in this story. It does not just mean more people without homes. It means a more brutal environment for everyone trying to get help. When homelessness rises, the path back to stability becomes narrower, slower, and more painful. Seniors are then forced to fight for space in a system that is already stretched thin. That is the hidden danger many people miss. The larger the homeless crisis becomes, the harder it is for older Texans to escape it once they fall in. Number 4. Older adults are becoming a bigger part of the homeless population. The fourth reason this crisis is becoming more disturbing is that older adults are now making up a bigger share of the homeless population. This changes the entire meaning of the crisis. Homelessness is no longer only about younger people, job loss, or short-term hardship. More seniors are now being pulled into the same danger, and that should alarm every family in Texas. These are people who spent decades working, raising children, paying bills, and trying to build stable lives. Now many of them are reaching old age only to face rising rent, shrinking savings, and housing they can no longer afford. That is what makes this crisis feel so shocking. It hits people at the stage of life when they should be safest, not most exposed. For seniors, homelessness often begins quietly. It may start with a rent increase they cannot absorb, then a medical bill arrives, then a car repair, then groceries cost more. One by one, the pressure builds until the monthly budget collapses. Unlike younger adults, many seniors do not have the strength, health, or time to recover quickly. Some cannot work extra hours. Some cannot relocate easily. Some have no close family to take them in. So when an older person loses housing, the fall is often faster and the recovery is much harder. Even short periods of instability can be dangerous. Sleeping in unsafe places, moving constantly, or living without proper cooling, medicine, or rest can turn a housing problem into a full survival crisis. This is why the growing number of homeless seniors is such a serious warning sign. It shows that the problem is moving deeper into the heart of society. When seniors start flooding into housing insecurity, it means the system is failing people who should have been protected the most. It means retirement is becoming less secure, not more. It means age is no longer a shield against poverty. And it means the Texas housing crisis is no longer just expanding. It is becoming more brutal, more personal, and more dangerous with every passing month. Number 5. Social Security and retirement income are no longer enough for many seniors. The fifth reason this crisis keeps getting worse is that retirement income is no longer enough to match real life in Texas. Many seniors depend on Social Security, small pensions, or limited savings that were never built for today's housing market. On paper, that monthly check may look stable. In reality, it is often too small to carry the full weight of rent, utilities, food, medicine, insurance, and daily living costs. That is where the real danger begins. A senior may not be completely broke, but they are still trapped because the money coming in is too weak for the world around them. And when income stays fixed while every major bill keeps rising, even a careful budget starts to collapse. What makes this even more painful is that the gap is not always dramatic at first. It can begin with a few extra dollars on an electric bill, then a higher grocery total, then one new prescription, then a rent renewal that jumps more than expected. Little by little, the budget starts starts bleeding. A senior who once felt safe suddenly has no breathing room left. There is no margin for error anymore. If the car breaks down, if the air conditioning fails in summer, or if a medical problem appears, the entire month can fall apart in days. Some seniors start using savings just to survive. Others use credit, borrow from family, or skip basic needs to stay housed. But those are not real solutions. They are signs that the financial ground is already cracking beneath them. This is why low retirement income is such a central part of the Texas housing crisis. It turns ordinary living into a constant fight for survival. A person can spend their whole life working and still arrive at old age unable to afford shelter with dignity. That is the bitter truth many people do not want to face. For seniors, homelessness does not always begin with total poverty. Sometimes it begins with income that is simply too small for a market that has become too expensive. And once that gap grows wide enough, housing stability can disappear with terrifying speed. If you were in this situation, what would break first? Your rent, your savings, or your peace of mind? Drop your answer in the comments because your voice matters more than you think. We put hours of deep research and effort into making these videos for you, so please subscribe to our channel and support our work. It is just one click. Number 6. Property taxes, insurance, and utility bills are crushing older Texans. The sixth reason this crisis is exploding is that many seniors are not only being hurt by rent, they are also being crushed by the hidden costs of simply staying in a home. In Texas, property taxes can rise, insurance premiums can jump, and utility bills can hit hard, especially during extreme weather. For an older homeowner living on a fixed income, that creates a silent emergency. They may technically own the house, but keeping it becomes harder every year. This is the part many people miss. Housing unaffordability is not only about finding a place to rent. It is also about whether a senior can still afford to hold onto the home they already have. And for many, that answer is becoming more uncertain month after month. At first, the pressure looks manageable. A tax bill comes in higher than expected. Insurance renews at a painful new price. The electric bill rises during a brutal Texas summer. Then repair costs appear, and suddenly the home that once felt secure starts feeling like a financial trap. Some seniors begin cutting back on cooling, even when the heat becomes dangerous. Others delay repairs, ignore roof damage, or put off fixing plumbing, windows, or broken appliances. That is when the house stops feeling like protection and starts feeling like pressure. And if a senior falls behind on taxes, insurance, or basic upkeep, the risk grows fast. They may be forced to sell, move into worse housing, or enter a cycle of instability they never expected at this stage of life. This is why the Texas housing crisis reaches far beyond the rental market. It is attacking people from both sides. Renters are being priced out, and homeowners are being worn down by rising ownership costs. A senior does not need to miss rent to face housing insecurity. Sometimes all it takes is 1 year of higher taxes, one insurance shock, one extreme utility season, and one major repair bill. That is enough to shake the entire foundation of a fixed income life. When the basic cost of staying housed keeps rising, even longtime homeowners can be pushed toward fear, forced moves, and homelessness risk. Number 7. Big Texas cities still do not have enough affordable homes where seniors need them most. The seventh reason this crisis keeps getting worse is that the biggest pressure is hitting the places where many seniors already live, and those areas still do not have enough affordable homes. In major Texas cities, housing demand has stayed intense for years. Jobs, hospitals, family network, public services, and transit options pull people into these areas, but affordable housing has not kept pace. That creates a painful imbalance. Seniors often need to stay close to doctors, pharmacies, relatives, and familiar neighborhoods, yet those same places are becoming harder to afford. This is where the crisis becomes deeply personal. It is not just about finding any roof. It is about whether an older person can remain near the services and support that help them survive. When affordable homes disappear in the very places seniors depend on, the danger rises fast. Some people assume the answer is simple, just move farther out. But for many seniors, that is not a real solution. Moving away may mean losing access to medical care, trusted neighbors, family help, church support, or daily services. It may also mean higher transport costs, more isolation, and a greater risk of being cut off during emergency. Distance can become another form of hardship. A cheaper place far away may look good on paper, but in real life it can create new problems that older adults are not equipped to handle. And when even smaller apartments, older buildings, or modest neighborhoods become too expensive, seniors are forced into choices that that feel impossible. Stay and fall behind, or leave and lose the support system that made life manageable. This is why housing shortages in big Texas cities matter so much. They push older adults out of the areas where they are safest and most connected. When a city does not build enough affordable homes, it slowly turns stability into displacement. Seniors who spent years building their lives in one community can suddenly find that community no longer has room for them. That is one of the cruelest parts of this crisis. Places that offer the most support are often the same places becoming too expensive to stay in. And once a senior is pushed out, the road back to security becomes much harder. Number 8. Reduced shelter space and weak housing support are pushing more people into the open. The 8th reason this crisis is becoming more visible is that when shelter space becomes limited and housing support moves too slowly, more people end up with nowhere safe to go. This is where the system starts showing its weakest point. A senior may lose housing, ask for help, and still find that the path to safety is blocked by long waits, full shelters, strict rules, or programs that move too slowly for an emergency. That is how a housing crisis turns into street homelessness. It is not always because help does not exist. Sometimes it is because the help is too small, too delayed, or too hard to reach at the exact moment when a person is falling. And for seniors, that delay can be devastating. Older adults often need more than just a bed for one night. They may need quiet, safety, medical care, stable rest, help with medication, or support getting documents and benefits in order. But when shelter systems are overloaded, those needs are harder to meet. Some seniors avoid crowded shelters because they feel unsafe, overwhelmed, or physically unable to manage the environment. Others are pushed from one temporary place to another without ever reaching real stability. Temporary help without long-term housing can trap people in survival mode. They are no longer secure, but they are not truly being rehoused either. That leaves them stuck in a painful middle space where every day becomes about getting through the next night instead of rebuilding a life. This is why weak shelter access and slow housing support matter so much in Texas's homeless crisis. They expose how fragile the safety net really is. When emergency help is too limited and permanent housing is too slow, people do not just struggle longer, they fall deeper. For seniors, that fall can be especially dangerous because health declines faster under stress, heat, exhaustion, and instability. A younger person may survive rough conditions for a while, but an older person may break down much faster. If the system cannot move people quickly from crisis to housing, then homelessness does not just grow, it hardens. And that is when the damage becomes far more severe. Number 9. Seniors face far more barriers once they lose stable housing. The 9th reason this crisis is so dangerous is that seniors face far more barriers once they lose stable housing. For a younger person, losing a home is already painful and destabilizing. But for an older adult, the same event can become far more serious, far more damaging, and far harder to reverse. Seniors are more likely to have health problems, limited mobility, chronic pain, weak family support, or a deep dependence on routine and nearby services. That means even a short period of housing instability can hit them like a storm. A missed night of proper rest, exposure to extreme heat, trouble getting medication, or the stress of constant movement can quickly push an older person into physical and emotional decline. What feels temporary on paper can become life-altering in real life. This is where the crisis becomes brutally unfair. Many seniors cannot simply get a new job, move across the state, sleep in a car, or start over from nothing. Their age, health, and finances place real limits on what they can do. Some struggle to fill out forms, travel to appointments, or deal with complex housing systems. Others do not use technology easily, which makes it harder to apply for help, search for housing, or respond quickly when an opportunity appears. The system often moves in a way that older people are not built to keep up with. And when every delay means another day without safety, every barrier becomes more dangerous. A senior in crisis does not just need a room. They need stability, access, support, and a path they can realistically follow. This is why homelessness hits older adults in such a devastating way. It is not only the loss of housing, it is the collapse of everything that helped them function day to day. Once a senior loses stable shelter, the road back is steeper, slower, and far more painful. Health can worsen, confidence can collapse, options can disappear. That is the hidden truth behind this crisis. Seniors are not just more likely to suffer after losing housing, they are often less able to recover from that loss without serious help. And that makes every housing failure more dangerous than it first appears. Number 10. Texas is growing faster than its housing safety net can handle. The 10th reason this crisis is exploding is that Texas keeps growing, but the housing safety net is not keeping up. More people are moving into the state, more pressure is building in major cities, and more competition is forming around every affordable unit that becomes available. On the surface, growth can look like success. New jobs, new construction, and more people can make a state seem strong. But underneath that growth, a dangerous imbalance is forming. The population is rising faster than deeply affordable housing, support systems, and emergency help can expand. That means the people with the weakest financial footing, especially seniors, are being squeezed harder with every passing year. When demand rises quickly and protection rises slowly, the most vulnerable people are the first to fall through the cracks. This kind of pressure changes the entire housing environment. More competition means landlords have more power. Affordable homes disappear faster. Waiting lists grow longer. Neighborhoods that once felt modest and manageable become more expensive. And seniors, who usually cannot increase their income to match the pace of the market, are left trapped in a race they were never built to win. Growth without protection creates silent displacement. It pushes older Texans out of stable housing, not always with one dramatic moment, but through steady pressure that builds month after month. A rent increase here, a tax jump there, a shrinking supply of low-cost homes, and suddenly a senior who was surviving last year is in full crisis this year. That is how a booming state can still produce growing homelessness. This is why Texas's homeless crisis is not just about personal hardship. It is also about scale. The state is expanding, but the systems meant to protect struggling people are not expanding fast enough. When growth outruns affordable housing, homelessness becomes easier to enter and harder to escape. For seniors, that danger is even greater because they have less time, less flexibility, and fewer recovery options. Texas is not only growing, it is stretching its weakest residents to the breaking point. And unless housing support grows faster, more older adults will keep getting pushed from pressure into fear, and from fear into homelessness. Texas's homeless crisis is no longer a warning sign in the distance. It is now a growing reality that is hitting the most fragile people the hardest. And for seniors, the danger feels even more cruel. These are not people who are just starting life. These are people who already gave their working years, raised families, paid taxes, and tried to build stability. Yet in 2026, many are being pushed into fear by forces they cannot control. Rising rent, weak retirement income, higher taxes, soaring insurance, shrinking affordable housing, and slow support systems are all crashing together at the same time. That is why this crisis feels so explosive. It is not one problem. There are many problems stacking on top of each other until housing becomes impossible to hold. What makes this even more disturbing is that homelessness often starts long before someone is seen sleeping outside. It starts with late bills, skipped medicine, broken air conditioning, empty savings, and silent panic behind closed doors. It starts when a senior begins choosing between food or rent, medicine or utilities, safety or survival. That is the hidden side of this crisis that many people never see. By the time the public notices, the damage is often already deep. Housing instability steals peace before it steals shelter. And once an older adult loses that stability, the path back becomes far more painful, far more dangerous, and far less certain. This is why the Texas housing crisis should alarm every viewer, whether they are young, middle-aged, or already retired. If the system can break seniors, it can shake everyone else too. What is happening now is not just about homelessness. It is about dignity, security, and whether people who work their whole lives can still afford to exist with basic stability. Texas is growing, but too many seniors are being left behind. And if nothing changes, this crisis will only become harder, colder, and more brutal from here.